This week on the Going Off podcast, we're reviewing All-AmeriKKKan Badass by Joey Badass, with dollar signs for S's for style. This is the second Joey Badass album I've heard, before Da Money. I checked out not too long ago, way later than everybody else did, and was very, very surprised. I enjoyed it a lot, definitely lived up to the hype. So, All-American Badass, new release, reminds me a lot of The Undertaker, because he called himself the American Badass there for a while, and he rode a motorcycle, for whatever fucking reason. But that's irrelevant. Darren, what did you think of All-American Badass?
I thought All-American Badass was, first of all, like, okay, so, Ice Cube kind of did it first, right? Like, all right, we know that.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Now, I'm cool with, like, doing that for the album name, like, oh, it's a reference to that. But, like, every, like, fifth song has that on it.
Oh, yeah, it does.
The America's... in fact, wasn't there a point where he's like, America...
Yeah, it's on the last track where it's, like, it does this bit where it's, like, skipping a few words, and then for that, he just does it live like that, and it's like, yeah, I know. I was doing that as a joke, though, saying it that way. I didn't know we were actually doing that.
There's just one too many songs where it repeats that, like, AmeriKKK thing. It's just like, all right, we get it, dude. Going into this, I don't think I'd ever... Well, no. I've heard him. I've heard him before. And, like, he's one of those guys that I think he's really good. In fact, I think he's, like, awesome. But I've just never checked him out that much. Like, I feel like he should be one of my favorites. I just hadn't really thought about it like that, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like he's never really been, like, on the radar like that for, like, he's one of those guys that's, like, sort of like, oh, in 10 years, people will be like, oh, man, you know who was great, Joey Badass? But at the time, like, whenever he puts out something, it's just like, oh, yeah, you know. You know what I mean? But this one, I felt like he sought to do something very different. He wanted to do the fucking, remember this album, he wanted this to be his goddamn To Pimp a Butterfly, and I kind of heard that on one moment where it sounded a little bit too much like To Pimp a Butterfly on All Right. Did that not sound a little bit like, on the Why Don't You Love Me, did that not sound a little bit like All Right?
Yeah, uh-huh.
I was like, come on, bro, like, don't do that.
See, I was even gonna say, if Damn is like a complete departure from what we heard on To Pimp a Butterfly, and, you know, it's something completely different, I feel like we got that with this. Like, this is like, okay, well, if you were looking for that, here's Joey Badass doing it, and the style is different enough that it isn't like you're listening to To Pimp a Butterfly all over again.
Yeah.
It's a very different album, and the style's very different, and the message is conveyed a lot more blunt.
He still maintains his, like, cleverness. I feel like Joey Badass is a dude who's, like, lyricism to him just doesn't sound like it's that much of an issue. Like, it's just like, oh yeah, I spit out these ill multisyllabic shit. That's just what I do. You know what I mean? And for him to channel that through this was really cool, because it's like, it's more than just, you know, being clever for the sake of being clever and just talking about his life. He's actually trying to make a point about some things. Now, there are some points where I kind of feel like he falls back into the sort of, like, generic sort of, this is just about my life, like Devastated. That song literally, like, for the title track, for the track, you know, for the name Devastated, I thought it was like, oh man, we're gonna get, like, the low point of the album, you know? But it's just kind of talking about how, like, I used to be poor, but now I'm rich, and I made it with my dudes, and, you know, like, yeah, we're doing all right now. And it's like, kind of doesn't fit with the rest of the album about being, you know, sad and at the state of, you know, Black America. It just really feels a little out of the blue. And I looked it up. Apparently, this song was, like, recorded, like, a couple of months before, and they just kind of stuck it on here. And so it's just like, it just really doesn't feel like it fits. Because, you know, the rest of the songs are like fucking Temptation. Starts off with that heart-wrenching little girl at the beginning where she's talking about, like, you know, basically, like, we shouldn't be treated like this, and this is bad. And I was like, oh my God. And it goes into the song, and I feel that. And, you know, Good Morning America, he says, And he actually has some really good joints on here. He says, it's time to wake up. Won't you come and smell the hot coffee? Stick your nose in the wrong places. One day you'll OD. Like, that was pretty clever. And then he says, oh, For My People was dope. Temptation was dope, of course. Land of the Free was ill as fuck. Devastated was the first time where it started falling off, where it was like, wait a minute, where are we? I thought this was supposed to be about, like, something. And then Why You Don't Love Me was, like, that was the one that kind of sounded like all right, and I was kind of feeling like, okay, I kind of feel like this isn't gonna end up going where I want it to, you know? Then we have Rockabye Baby, which completely departs from what was happening, and it's just more like, all right, this is just about that gangster shit now. And Schoolboy fucking bodied that shit. Like, holy God. He was like, park the car around the corner, be there in a second. The murder weapon on me. Fuck if this bitch starts flaming, the cops patrolling, get that punk-ass American flag ceremony. Oh, damn, did I go too far?
Yeah, my fucking jaw dropped at that. Like, oh, fuck, dude. It's basically like on that remix of that part where he's talking about the dude that was shot outside the gas station, and it was like, hey, you say Black Lives Matter, but you fucking filmed them and didn't do anything about it. You two deserve to die too. Like, oh, Jesus. Fucking Schoolboy Q, half the time it's like, yeah, you know, but then other times it's like, no, fuck this. And he's like, he gets more raw than, like, most.
He said, your son picked up on your beef, real shit, from getting lynched in fields to owning buildings, getting millions, influencing white children, and oddly, we still ain't even. And he says, still only a small percentage of blacks that's eating. Same routines, same dope fiends, the nightmare streets, forever murder season. It's like, holy fuck. This is,
fucking goes in.
Yeah, like, Joey Bada, I kind of forgot whatever he said, because it was just small bananas compared to where the fuck Schoolboy Q was going with this whole verse. In fact, I kind of felt like that was an issue at times. I kind of felt like there wasn't enough that was strong enough to really, like, make each song punch out. Like, the first 4 songs, like, they're cool, but I feel like it doesn't really, like, hit you as hard as it could.
I would say overall with Joey Badass, I really enjoyed the album. It was powerful. It had a very strong message. I think it was conveyed very well. But overall, very few songs were memorable afterwards. There was only a few tracks where, I mean, I don't really know if an album like this is, like, its main goal is to be catchy or whatever, but fucking Legendary with J. Cole was fucking catchy as shit. And it was like, okay, this track is actually kind of fun. And it's like, maybe he's not going for that, and that's not the overall mood of the album, and that's not what he's going for. But when that track came on, and that's the fucking second to the last track on the album, I was like, yeah, okay. But it was like, oh, alright. But, like, yeah, I don't want to take it away from him because it was a dark album, and that's fine.
Yeah, and then you got Ring the Alarm with fucking Michi Darko comes back, and he doesn't get a verse. I was just like, God damn it! It's like the best guy out of that whole group, and he just comes here just to do a chorus. Like, what the fuck, man? But that one's sort of like, so you have these sort of back-to-back songs that are like amping up this sort of like, you know, revenge, revolution, all this evil, dark shit, and, you know, all this stuff. But then you get Super Predator, which, this is kind of my point. He doesn't go hard enough to make a big statement with the song. Like, okay, you have the song Super Predator. You have that title. We know that it's based on, like, you know, the shit that was going on with the 90s. You know, we all heard the Hillary speech. We've all seen
the Hillary Clinton thing.
Yeah.
They what was it? They need healing.
They need to come to heal or something like that.
Come to heal, that's right. Like, I was expecting, like, is that even, like, quoted in the song? Like, I don't think it is.
He only really talks about it at, like, the tail end of the song. And I kind of hated that. It's like, no, you need to flesh that out more, because you just had these last 2 songs about, like, being super hateful and super vengeful against the society that's fucked you over. And then you have this song that doesn't really say any, like, excuse me. And then you have this song that doesn't really answer that, especially with the song that's supposed to be like, here's the thing that they called us in the 90s because, there was that racial component to it. And without really fleshing it out and really giving us a more nuanced message with it, it really just sounds like, we were those, super hardcore gangsters that they painted us out as. But, it's just bad that they pointed it out.
I think the neighbors think we're selling dope. Well, motherfucker, we are. Like, then why even bring it up?
Yeah, like he says, you got the whole world thinking it's true about what they said about us. But the last two songs were you being angry black man. So, like, what are you saying to offset that? You know what I mean?
Don't be mad that they made an accurate, observation. I don't even want to say that was an accurate, thing, but, according to what he's saying.
Yeah, and, if that's what you're going to put out, literally, it seemed like it was strategically placed to try to say something,
Right.
And to try to say, they're not looking really at what the problems are. Maybe that could have been the message, because it kind of, especially with Schoolboy Q's verse, he kind of talks about that. It's like, they're not looking at what the overarching problem is, and they're just seeing us as bad guys, regardless of the situation, so we're just unrehabilitatable just because of that. If he would have fleshed that out and made that more apparent, it would have worked. But it feels like it wasn't it didn't come all the way back around to be like, that's what he's trying to do here. It just kind of felt like, yeah, they're calling us super predators and saying that we're bad, even though the last two songs are about us, killing people and shit. You know what I mean?
I mean, we're pretty bad.
Yeah, it just didn't work. Then you have Babylon, which was kind of about him saying, I wish I could just run away from this, which I really kind of liked. Because it's just I wish I just had nothing to do with this. And oh my God. When he had that one fucking part where he says, fuck the system and the government. You fuckers not protecting and serving. You're more like damaging and hurting and letting off shots until you motherfuckers are certain he ain't breathing. You made it clear. Fuck your breath, nigga. We don't even deserve air. It's just holy fuck. Because that's a reference to actual Eric. Oh my
Eric
goodness.
Gardner.
Yeah. For when the
I can't
fucking
breathe.
police cop. Excuse me. For when the fucking cop was like, "Fuck your breath," when he said, "I can't breathe." It's like, Jesus fucking Christ, it's horrible. Why would you fucking say that? And then for him to say God damn, we don't even deserve air. Holy shit.
It's such a simple observation, but when you fucking say it like that, it's
when you hear it. Yeah, and it's and he says it's black, and then he just starts screaming. When that energy comes into it, I was like, holy shit, I wanted to hear this the whole album, just that anger, because his voice can deliver it. It's if Black Lives really mattered, you niggas would do something. Instead, we get nothing. In fact, we being hunted. You know what I mean? And
fucking really came alive right at the end.
Yeah, I know. And it's it's solid enough in his delivery and description, but I feel like we needed more of those moments to really just punch it and hit home. For example, his third verse in American Idol. Oh, man. He was bringing up a point that was genius. He said, "What the government is doing amongst our people is downright evil, disturbing, but not surprising, that's for certain. With all of the conflict of propaganda, I believe they're simply trying to start slander. They're trying to start a civil war within the USA amongst blacks and whites, and those alike. They're simply pushing us to our limits so we can all get together and get with it. They want us to rebel, so that it makes it easier for them to kill us and put us in jails." And I was just like, oh shit. And he's and he says, I just want everyone to be cautious about how they go about it, because this is all part of the government's plan and what they've been plotting. They're literally begging for this to happen so they can kill us off, using uprising and rebellion as the excuse in a timely fashion. I was just like, oh shit. I've never heard someone make that point before.
And the way you're presenting it right now isn't much unlike how it is on the album. I'm saying this as a compliment or as a good point here, where he just kind of stops rapping. It almost just becomes he's ranting now. This is just him literally reaching through the fucking speaker and just grabbing your fucking collar and being like, I wanted to check that you were listening because I'm talking to you right the fuck now. Yeah. This is important. You need to hear this. Which again, why would you leave that for the very end? I mean, I guess if you're trying to make a big exclamation point on the album, that's one way to do it. But overall, there was a message being conveyed gradually throughout the album, so it wasn't completely hidden towards the end, but it really came to a head at the end.
I wish it was more solid. I really enjoyed it. Yeah. And I think it's a solid listen, but I wish that there were more big punches to really sort of, pull you on throughout the whole album. You know what I mean?
A little observation I made on Twitter, and, you can take this however you want. Occasionally, when you search for an album on Spotify, it will sometimes give you the edited version first, and then you have to actually go to the artist's page, find the unedited one, and listen to that one. And that happened to me when I downloaded this album. So I didn't even realize I had the edited one until a few tracks in, because there is surprisingly low amounts of harsh language or cursing on this album. There were mostly N-words that were censored out, but for like 80% of the album, most of the songs are actually pretty clean. The last track has the most cut out, and that doesn't help when the fucking refrain is me and my N-words going off like bomb threats, being repeated like 4 or 5 times. So then, it gets cut out a lot. But I think, I don't have a problem with cursing on albums, obviously, but I was legitimately impressed that there was so little on this album with a message so passionate. Like, it was conveyed, I don't want to say more intelligently, because I'm not saying, I don't want to make it sound like I think cursing on an album is dumb, but it can be used as a crutch occasionally.
Yeah.
And I think being able to convey a message like this and not resort to that, I think that definitely deserves some recognition.
Yeah. And I don't want to make it sound like I don't like this album, because like I said, I actually do. In fact, overall, I give it a 4.75 out of 5, actually.
I would say 4.5, yeah.
Because I think it's a solid and enjoyable enough listen that you'll like it. But I think, maybe there's little jewels every now and then. This is like a rapper making their first real political album, Yeah. This is like Public Enemy getting their footing. And I would like to see more of it. Because like I said, most of the tracks were solid enough. And I feel like I feel like it's negative when I say that they're solid enough, because I'm saying like, oh, it's good enough. But no, they really are good. It's just, I kind of feel like, I shouldn't even say that. I shouldn't say that. I should give him props on what he did, because he did a really good job. I feel like I'm measuring it on like, well, if it was perfect, it should have been this. But I shouldn't do that. It is a legit, like, enjoyable enough album. There's enough variation and enough like content on here to really pull you in. But when I heard the last song, it gave me a taste of what the album really could be. Especially like bringing up a point of saying like, they're doing this to push our limits, and we need to be smarter than this. And it feels like it sort of subverts the earlier songs about, starting revolution and just shooting and killing motherfuckers.
I guess it would have been too, like, heavy or, like, way too downer of a listen if it was that serious throughout the entire album, like, with that same amount of, like, raw energy. But, I think sometimes people try to do too much with albums, like either it's either one thing or another, and I don't think it needs to necessarily be like that. But when you have songs that are so not that, and then you have one that is really brings it, like this last track, it is a little bit jarring. It's like, where was this?
Yeah. I think if you would have cut out Devastated, though, that one is such a departure from everything else that it takes the not as hard-hittingness of the album and kind of pulls it down even further.
It's a very easy listen. I say that, it doesn't feel like a chore. It's almost an hour, and it fucking flies by.
Yeah, the album actually is more about like me gaining the confidence to spread this message, as opposed to like any actual, hard-hitting, pulling you down messages. Like we have one or two songs where, what was the one? The why you don't love me, where he's talking about like, why do you always call me ugly? Why come when you do shit to me, you don't just fucking apologize? Like, why can't I just get you to say sorry for what you've done to me? And it's just like, yeah, that's a powerful moment right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, a lot of it is him trying to garner the strength to tell the message. There's a bit of timidness where he's like, he feels like if he does say too much, then people will think, oh, here comes heavy-handed Joey Badass trying to be like Kendrick Lamar. You know what I mean?
But seriously, at a time like this, like, I don't think anyone's really gonna be surprised if someone kind of takes a political stance.
Yeah. Like,
just do
I
it, think
man.
most people are expecting it.
Yeah, like, dude, please, don't be afraid, man. We want you to go all the way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's what makes it stand out so much, and that's what makes it so wonderful, and that's what makes me want to hear this again. Take the gamble. You know what I mean?
It's kind of irrelevant, but I gotta point out the album cover. It's a fucking great cover.
I kind of don't like it as much. It feels a little like that feels a little on the nose. Like, you're giving the middle finger to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it is that, but I like that the American flag that is tied to, I guess, like the antenna of the car is made out of, like, sewn together bandanas.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty cool.
And it's red and black bandanas, basically symbolizing, like, we need to put the gang shit aside.
Oh yeah, when he brought that point up, that was pretty cool too.
And it's like, it's basically the message that was brought up on that bullshit Snoop Dogg album, where him and, who was it? I forget who. When they were like, red and blue, we gotta come together and fight the common enemy. It's like, yeah, okay, but at least on that one it was bullshit. On this one it was serious. and it was done rather well.
Yeah, because he was saying, like, we have gangs, we have groups of, like, black people within our communities. We just need to be fucking smarter about it.
He basically said, we're so ready to pull up guns to hurt each other, but not protect each other. That was a very solid listen. I recommend it to anybody. Yeah, it's really hard to say because we ranked it really high, but we still had a good bit of criticisms for it.
You know what I think it is? I think it's because it was so solid, we're kind of seeing the perfect that it could have been. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it just misses the mark. So
Yeah.
I think if anything, we're just slightly, I guess frustrated that it didn't go that complete. But it's like, I mean, that's more than good enough.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, really?
I mean, yeah. I think we're being kind of assholes. We're assuming it's this perfect world where everyone releases great albums, and this guy just wasn't up to snuff. What's going on? No, we're in a shitty world where most people release fucking average ass albums. So you know what, Joey Badass, you did a good ass job.
Oh yeah, the fucking effort was put in here, and it deserves to be noticed.
Yeah, we're grading you. We're gonna grade you for how much you did well, not how much you lacked. So
Exactly.
fuck that. Yeah, you know what? He deserves that 4.75. Yeah.